I'm just going to let the music play a little bit longer, just a smidge longer.
I mean, why?
So we can all feel our feels together. Moment of silence for the season that could have been, a moment of silence for all of our feelings, a moment of silence for all of our mentions.
Let's just put in the effort that the Suns did and not talk for 45 minutes. How about that?
Exactly.
I don't have any feelings.
Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the PHNX Suns post-game show. Shout out to our friends over at OG's Brands, the official sponsor of Flavoring Fridays. You picked a great day to be the official sponsor because I think we're all going to need some OGs, whether that is to numb the pain, to help us sleep, whatever it may be. Head on over to ogsbrands.com to see their full lineup, including their two newest gummies, the OG's Naturals and the Big OGs, and to find out where you can purchase. It's official. The Suns are now down 3-0 to the Timberwolves in the series, losing tonight 126-109. Espo, what are those stats again about a team going down 3-0?
Yeah, it's a big 0% chance of coming back. It's never been done in NBA history. And look, I'd love to sit here and yell and rant and tell you that there's something that you should feel about this team, but they have shown you that there is no reason to feel anything when it comes to them. They have not earned our anger. They have not earned the right to have us despise them. You know what? They have been a massive disappointment all year, and tonight was just another example of them not showing the effort, the heart, the hustle. The fans came out. The fans sounded great in the first two quarters, and the team rewarded them with another piss-poor showing. And fans deserve better in this town. Fans deserve better from the coaching staff, from the front office, from the players. The fans deserve better than what we saw a majority of this season, but in particular tonight. We are on a collision course with another disappointing, gut-wrenching, just awful embarrassment in the playoffs for the third straight year, and we were sold a vision of this not happening anymore. And guess what? We're on the doorstep yet again, and it's time for massive changes.
I mean, I agree with most of what you said. I don't think this is gut-wrenching end to the season because if you've watched this team play all year, you kind of expected that this could happen at some point. And, you know, especially the first couple games of the series, it did not look good. And if it looked like Minnesota had figured something out, which they clearly had. And, you know, it's just another microcosm of the inconsistency that this team has shown all season long. The ups, the downs, the ups and downs. And unfortunately for the Suns, this is definitely a downward swing, and it's a steep downward swing. It's probably a downward swing you're never going to be able to recover from because no team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. And this team has just been – it's been befuddling, it's been confusing, and it's not just about the play of the players. It's also been about the rotations, it's been about the choices and strategy, it's been the effort, it's been everything from top to bottom. And it's just been really unfortunate because, you know, the thing that I inside my soul, I felt like I get that these guys needed time to play together, but I always felt like that was a little bit of a cop-out to some degree because we've seen other teams come together and play at a high level after like the first 20 games that they played together. But it took this team like 40 games to play together, and they still don't have it. They still don't know what each other's supposed to do. And I'm looking basically at the big three because all three of them are really the main ones to blame because you can't put the blame on anybody else. When the big three don't show up to play at a high level, you're probably going to lose a lot of games. And for a majority of the series, outside of basically Kevin Durant, scoring-wise, this team didn't show up. And Bradley Beal did whatever he needed to do in this fourth quarter, but that was too little too late. And it's just Listen, man, Phoenix Suns fans deserve so much better than the shit that they've been handed time after time after time again, man.
I don't ever want to hear the term big three again. This is a shrinking
it's
three.
definitely not big
The
three.
moment when the moment gets the lights get brightest, the moment gets the biggest. These three have basically shrunk in every way, shape, and form. And it's weird because Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, they've all had individual moments where things are tough, things are bright, and they've performed. But together, these three don't work. The shrinking three, it does not work. And I don't care who the coach is, they don't seem to be able to perform together as a group.
I think after today's game or tonight's game, you can say without a doubt that there is something going on behind the scenes that is not working. I don't even know what it is exactly, but I think to your point about, having had so much time throughout the season, like I know it was less than ideal as far as having to deal with the injuries and the amount of games the big three got to play together. But they're all so individually talented that the only reason why it doesn't work, in my opinion, is they're not on the same page in some capacity. And like we talked about it in the pregame show, when you look at what Devin said postgame after game 2 about communication, what Frank Vogel said about them all, this their first time being collectively together in a playoff environment, and then KD saying that's not a factor, and KD not thinking that communication was really the issue. There's a disconnect somewhere with probably more than just the three guys that I just named, probably a lot of players on this team and probably a lot of coaches as well. And that's what I don't think they've been able to overcome. Yeah. Because if they had been able to overcome whatever the disconnect is, I think they would have obviously played better, had better chemistry, had better connection. Everything would have been better. But there's something behind the scenes that was not connected that I think was the Achilles heel here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with anything. I'll say this, man. I've been around teams before, but usually at the college level, where things just are not. They have all the talent, but they are just not lining up. And you find out after the season that something awful was going on behind the scenes, and you can see why the guys were not connected. And I'm not saying that anything awful is happening behind the scenes, but they're definitely disconnected. And it feels like they're disconnected both off and on the court. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what to point to. I don't have any specific facts or information to share. It's just, listen, man, when things are awry, there's got to be some other reasoning behind it, because these three players are too good, or at least we thought that they were too good,
they are
to
too
let
good.
This happen. You should not be getting handled like this by the Minnesota Timberwolves. You should not.
Look, this team plays with no joy. They do not.
They're joyless.
They do not enjoy playing together. It is very clear visually. And I think it eventually, the weight of just that became problematic with this group. And little things can become corrosive. It doesn't have to be that they all dislike each other behind the scenes, right? It can be little things, philosophical things that they don't agree on in the way to approach things, whether it's the way they get ready for games or any of these things can start to become a corrosive, divisive thing over time. And I think we've just hit that point where they can't hold it together even to pretend that there's hope with this group. That we saw that in the regular season where you get these pockets of belief that they could do it, and I just don't think they even have it in them anymore to even hit that kind of stride for 5, 7, 10 minutes in a game, let alone an entire game and an entire series. Hats off to Minnesota, who have played a great series defensively and shown up when they've needed to offensively, but this thing is problematic from top to bottom right now, and I think we're in for, how the court says playoffs 2024, I think you can drop the P. I think we're in for layoffs 2024 after Sunday, because I think a lot of guys are about to lose their job in Phoenix.
The hardest part about all this is, like, where do you go from here? You know what I mean? Like, where do you go from here? I know we got one more game to go, and I'm not trying to put the cart ahead of the horse.
Yeah, but it's literally never happened in history. And if there was, I suppose if there was a team who would make history for the first time, it would be this team.
But I would be so
I doubt
mad.
it.
But at the same time, like, I don't I don't know where you go from here. You can't even identify who the leaders on this team are. It certainly isn't the coaching staff. It certainly isn't any of the players on the court, at least not by example. It's certainly not anybody else in that franchise right now. This is a lost franchise, point blank. It is lost. They went for it, and they made the KD trade, and they sacrificed a lot of assets, and then they went and got Bradley Beal, which cost them a lot more money in terms of like what you're responsible for here in the future. And so you are very limited in what you can do. So where do you go from here? What kind of moves can you possibly make to even shore up this? And even if you got other assets, do you have the coach or the coaching staff to even be able to take advantage of what those guys have to offer? Because this coaching staff certainly did not. It did not. I don't care what anybody wants to try and draw up in terms of schematics. Oh, well, look at this offensive set and look at this offensive set. The only thing that fucking matters is wins. That's it. I don't give a shit what the schematics say. I don't care what the analytics say. At the end of the day, this team fell on its face when it needed to come up the most. And that's the only thing that matters. All we talk about is the playoff performance. That's all we talk about. That's all that matters. And they came up, and it looks like they might possibly get swept. And that tells you everything you need to know about this team. They are not good enough.
Look, you asked what's next. Well, thanks to this team, we're going to have May and June to talk 5 days a week about it because this group didn't show up. And Devin Booker needs to look at himself in the mirror. Kevin Durant needs to look at himself in the mirror. Bradley Beal needs to look at himself in the mirror and ask, who the hell are you? Because we were sold on you guys being 3 stars, and right now, it's not anywhere close to that. And it's embarrassing. Embarrassing is the only word that seems to fit what this is right now. And, it's not fair. You said it. It's not fair to this group of Suns fans that have been through so much. We'll go through so much more, I'm sure. And we're in for a tumultuous offseason. Unless they pull off some kind of miracle, which I have no hope that that's going to happen.
There's a reason why I'm wearing this shirt.
What?
I was going to be on the pregame, but I had to manage too much shit behind the scenes. I wore this shirt because I was like, you know what? Like, today, the only thing I wanted to see was who was just going to take the ball and impose their will on the other team. Who was going to be that guy? Was it going to be KD? Was it going to be Book? Was it going to be Beal? Like, who was going to step up and assert their dominance on the Minnesota Timberwolves and put them back in their place? Nobody did.
Well, I wore this because the Gorilla's the only guy that might be left after this kind of performance. Him and Bradley Beal, since you can't trade him.
Oh, should I say I wore this because Phoenix has an attitude and so do I?
Yes. Yes.
All right, guys, let's dive a little bit into this game. Before we look at the numbers, I do want to ask you, where do you think, if you could pinpoint what went wrong in this one, where the tide completely turned, where would you put it at?
Well, the third quarter was the biggest part, open shot after open shot. Lindsay, you and I were sitting over here, and I think the Timberwolves were up by 6, and they got a bucket. They hit a 3, and I said, the onslaught's about to happen because I could feel it.
It was one of those things where it was like, if the Suns don't knock down a couple buckets quick, this is gone. And
sure enough, the Suns missed a shot. They come back down, and I think Jaden McDaniels was wide open in the corner for yet another 3. And as soon as the ball, even before it even got to his hands, I was like, yep, this is going in. This is the run. And it hit, and that was the run. And it's like, it's almost as if like the ghosts of Suns past came back and was like, oh yeah, remember Game 6? Remember Game 7s? Yeah, I'm here again. Like, this is the Timberwolves time, and it skyrocketed from there. And the second chance opportunities that the Timberwolves had did not help at all. I think that was another big factor. They got so many offensive rebounds, so many second chance points, and that's all effort and will. That's all effort and will. This team did not have enough effort and will all season long. When you look at the losses, they didn't care enough to put it out there. And I know there was a thought that maybe we would get to the playoffs and they can flip a switch. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. When you've been playing at a high level all season long, you're accustomed to playing at a high level. So when you get to the playoffs, you don't have to flip a switch. And these dudes right now clearly are showing they are not good enough to just flip a switch when playoff time comes about.
The problem is they didn't build the foundation, they didn't build the wall, they didn't install the switch. You can't flip it if none of that's there. Like, this team never had the ability to do that because they never became a team.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of individuals who were having great performances at times this year, and they were never a team. And that, you can't point the finger at any one person. It's on everybody. But you got to put it at the feet of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, because this was supposed to be their team, and they haven't performed to that level.
All right, let's go ahead and look at some of the numbers from tonight's game presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union named by Forbes.
Yeah, it's a 126-109 Suns loss, and this first number will tell you a lot of what you need to know. The Suns were 35 of 77. They shot 46.6%. The Wolves, 43 of 87, 46%. They shot worse than the Suns, but they had 10 more shots. And then the battle of the glass. It was the Timberwolves with 50 rebounds to the Suns 28. Again, that's heart, that's hustle, that's effort. The Suns didn't get it done. Minnesota had 26 assists to the Suns 24, and three-point shooting. Look, again, the Suns shot a better percentage, but they had fewer shots and fewer makes than the Timberwolves, and that's how you get a loss like tonight, a 126-108 loss. Just they didn't have anything going.
No.
Not anything at all.
Yeah. Those rebounds have been atrocious all 3 games.
Well, and look, okay, Yusuf Nurkic has disappeared this series. And part, that's great play by Rudy Gobert. I don't want to take anything away from Gobert and Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, the bigs on Minnesota, but Nurk has disappeared.
Yes.
And he was a guy that so much of what you thought you were going to be able to do was predicated on him this season and offseason.
Well, yeah, I will say this, the one thing that we hounded DA about was disappearing when the team needed him most last year, especially against the Nuggets, right? Well, I can make the argument that Nurk has disappeared this entire series, and it only matters in the playoffs. And we had a couple good moments with Nurk this season, and I think he's a good player, but
they've all disappeared.
They have all disappeared, and I'm not saying that we won or lost that trade, but damn, it doesn't look good right now when he doesn't show up in the playoffs. He doesn't even provide resistance. He can barely make a layup, for crying out loud. What are we doing?
But that has been an issue all season long.
But that doesn't mean it's okay right now.
I know that. I'm not saying that. I mean, Nurk, his numbers have gone down. In the postseason, he's averaging 7.3 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game. In the regular season, he was at 10.9 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. So his has gone down. And I do understand being upset and frustrated with Nurk and a lot of the other role players on this team, but I feel like they're the secondary guys that you look at when you want to place blame.
No. Everybody carries blame on this roster.
Yeah, but it should be less at their feet than it should be at the big 3.
I agree, but every single person in this organization, in the front office, the coaching staff, the players, all deserve blame in this, Nurk included, for not showing up. And in a matchup where you need him, because this isn't a matchup that he should have been played off the court. I mean, Rudy Gobert ain't some athletic freak that you're playing against. Rudy Gobert is the kind of style that you thought Nurk would be able to stay on the floor with, right? Not the case.
And I wonder if there's a little bit of overlooking Rudy Gobert too, because he's had this sort of scarlet letter attached to him that he kind of disappears in the playoffs, right? So I wonder if they kind of just overlooked Rudy Gobert and he took that personally.
Yeah, maybe. This team couldn't afford to overlook anything with the way it's played this year. And if this is a case of they overlooked the Timberwolves, well, that's just negligence on every level. Every level, if they thought this was going to be some kind of cakewalk. Ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, we're going to look at some super chats here in just a second and continue talking about this game. But first, I want to thank you all for being here with us and commiserating together. And I want to tell you about our friends over at the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Right now, they have a bonus special going on for you when you sign up using the code PHNX. After you use that code, PHNX, all you got to do is place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10, and you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if the bet loses. They also have their MLB Grand Slam Jackpot, which is a weekly bet and get promotion. You just place a $10 or more wager on any player to hit a home run every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if the player hits a Grand Slam on that day, you can win the $50,000 daily prize or a share of the prize with every other winning bettor. You can check out the show notes for full details. And now you can listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY, 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Get stuffed, Ontario.
That's it. That's all we got for you today.
I'm going to do it with the Suns' effort level right now. There is one good thing about this. You can get into Sunday's game super cheap right now with our friends over at Game Time. I actually think if you wait till the last second, they're going to pay you to go watch Game 4 at the Footprint Center.
Oh, no.
That's how bad it's going to get. But Game Time will get you in because they are the masters at last-minute tickets at the best deal. But you know what? It's been frustrating. Basketball has not treated us well. So I think it's time to turn our focus to baseball. As painful as
Actually,
that's been this year, too.
Well, you know what? Fuck baseball. Why don't you just go to a comedy show? Because you probably could use
There
a
you
laugh
go.
right now.
Comedy shows. That's
Bill
where it's
Burr
at.
is
Bill
on
Burr
here.
is here tonight, tomorrow night. I'm actually going tomorrow night.
Are
Let's see.
Well, that's exciting.
I'm right here in the app. Let's see. You can get into Bill Burr tomorrow at Arizona Federal Theater for $58 with our friends at Game Time. Or if you want to skip Sunday's game, same time as the game, Bill Burr, same theater, $79. So you might as well go laugh and not cry instead of watching this team. But you know what? You can even get baseball tickets. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on Game Time actually go down the closer you get to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code PHNX, $20 off. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed with our friends at Game Time.
This is the feeling that I have, and I can't help but feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel like I was bamboozled.
Mm-hmm.
We
were made to think that the moves that they made in the offseason were like these shrewd moves, and they were calculated. And even despite the fact that we have no salary cap room and we're in the second apron, like they were going to find a way, because they were the smartest people in the world. And I'm just sitting here like, man, I was such a dumbass for listening and believing that shit. I really am. And I know there's a lot of other fans that believe the hype too. And I'm almost ashamed to feel that way because, man, I should have known better. You should have known after the first 30 or 40 games that, man, this doesn't look right.
Here's the thing, though, is that, on paper, there was a path to success with this team, right? And then 30, 40 games in, you just wanted to find... Let's be honest, you did want to cope a little bit. You wanted to find a reason why it hadn't fully clicked yet. And the injuries were an easy way to excuse what hadn't happened at that point. And I don't think that was an unfair approach to take. Even though it still feels like you got bamboozled at this point, I don't think that was the wrong thought process at the time. I don't know about you, but if I'm a fan of this team, I'm not trying to give up on it 30 games into the season.
I know, but
and I know that there's a balance of being more realistic and then also trying to have hope and be positive, but 30 games into the season, I'm not going to toss in the hat just yet.
No, and over a summer, and when you make moves like that, as a sports fan, hope is what you're sports is all hope, right? Because only 1 out of 30 teams is winning it in the end.
Yeah.
It's all irrational hope because it's a giant lottery that you're likely not going to win. But I understand what you're saying because to me, it felt like a dream house that I wanted. I always wanted it. I finally get it, right? Because we've never had a super team here. You finally get this dream house of yours, and then you find out the foundation's cracked. There was a murder that happened there. It's worth a third of what you paid for it. Oh, and it's a crime-ridden neighborhood, right? Like you just got you're like, oh crap! What I wanted was not really what I should have wanted in the end. And I feel like that's where we are, like because you felt like you finally had attained something that you hadn't seen in Phoenix. You thought, okay, I'm finally going to have what all these other teams that have achieved the greatest heights that we've always wanted to been to had. But it wasn't that in the end. These guys are not those guys. This is not, quite frankly, and we were told this in the offseason, this is not the NBA that this kind of roster construction used to work in either. Mm-hmm. And I still don't fault Matt Ishbia for trying to go all in. I appreciate the approach, especially where we came from. I appreciate a guy that's willing to spend the money. But I also hope he's a guy that's willing to admit when something hasn't worked and pivot.
Yeah. Because
he's going to have to pivot, and it's going to have to be more than just Frank Vogel. I hate to say it. You're going to have to explore other options, and we'll leave it at that. We'll get into that over the next few months.
It's going to
be a lot.
It's going to be an off season.
This
for
is
sure.
This is what I'll say. And listen, man, we don't have any relationship with anybody in that front office. We have no relationship with Matt Ishbia or anything like that. But what I will say is this: I think there's something to be said about wanting to make your imprint on a franchise right away, and he did that within the first hour. It felt like of taking over this franchise, and they gave up a lot of draft capital, and they gave up 2 good players, but they got a superstar. A world-class superstar in return. So you can live with it. Now, the results are going to dictate whether or not it was worth it or not. And right now, the results are not what you want to see. And that's not just on Kevin Durant, though. That's everybody. Everybody in the front office, everybody on that bench, everybody that's on the court, they're all responsible for this. And when you look back at this regime and you look at how they're going about this business, I guarantee you Matt Ishbia, if he could do it all over again, maybe he would be a little bit more calculated and think about, okay, is there something else I could have pulled the trigger? But it's easy to say that on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Because it's Kevin fucking Durant. You're not going to not trade for Kevin Durant.
I'm sorry. He was going to make they were going to make a couple splashy moves. If it wasn't Kevin Durant, it would have been somebody else.
Sure,
right?
For sure.
That they were not going to stand pat with a team that we had seen what happened, and with a coaching staff that we had seen what happened. Like you knew he was going to go all in. That's just what you knew. He had the money. You knew he was going to want to do that. So yeah, you went for it with Kevin Durant. Bradley Beal, I still think the thought process wasn't the wrong one because you weren't going to get the money that Chris Paul had that you were going to be able to spend anywhere else. Again, maybe the wrong guy, but it seemed like that was pretty much the only option in terms of it too.
I've thought about that one a lot, and yeah, you didn't have much of a choice. But I will say this, because this was the year that we were going to owe Chris half of his salary if we did not keep him. If we just released him, we still owed him half of his salary, which was like $15 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you let Chris walk out the door for $15 million, or you keep him for $30, the thing about the Chris Paul contract is you were not on the hook after this season for it in the long run, right? I'm getting somewhere, right? And so when you look at the Bradley Beal contract, he's still got three more years.
I think it's
26, 27 is his last year here.
It's a player option, so they might be able to talk him out of it.
Yeah, right. For $50 million, and no, he's going to keep that shit. So that is almost an impossible contract to move unless he's not happy here and he finds a suitor out there that will take him on, which is
could happen.
highly, highly unlikely at that money clip and the performance that he gave this season is just not worth it for any franchise to take on that kind of salary hit. So you're stuck. Devin Booker is under contract 1 year past that, but he's the face of the franchise. He's been here longer than any of these guys, and so he's going to get a little bit more leeway than the other two. And Kevin Durant is here. He came here to want to win a championship with Devin Booker. So I don't know if there's a quote-unquote right move to make. I don't even know if there is a move to make. You got so many questions that you're going to have to try and answer this offseason. I think the easiest one to do, and this is from my perspective, the easiest one to do is you got to sit down with those three, and you got to be like, what the fuck happened? I want all the laundry aired. I want to know what the hell's going on. And then you got to come up to a realization of whether or not you want to keep any one of those three, all three, or some of the three. And from there, I think the only move you got to make is the coaching staff, because I don't think that Frank Vogel is a leader that these guys really just buy into and will do anything for. And I'm not saying that every coach in the NBA is like that, but there are very, very good coaches that will hold people accountable and dictate that you got to perform at a high level, otherwise you can't play. It is too many games that we have this season where a Bull would have 28, 30 points against Houston and then not see the light of day for the next 4 games. That doesn't make sense to me. That's not player development. Or Josh Okogie. Hell, I forgot Josh Okogie was even on the damn roster because he hadn't played for like 2 months. I know he was injured for a portion of that, but damn, you're talking about a physical Minnesota team that's getting after it, and you have a physical player right there. Why not throw him out there for a couple minutes? Because nobody else is giving you juice. Like the lack of faith in your own players is because of your own lack of faith in your own development. Believes in Frank Vogel. Got to move on from him.
Listen, you know it's bad when Lakers fans are commiserating on our behalf. When they say, we understand what you're going through right now, not just because of what's happening in the playoffs currently. Right. They're talking about Frank Vogel and their past history with him. Yeah. You know it's bad when Lakers fans are like, bro, I feel you.
Yeah, I think there's another move, too, that has to be made. I think you got to pick up the phone and you say, Bob Myers, want a job?
Come on down.
You want to prove that you're a builder? You want to prove that you can do it without draft picks? We had a project for you, Bob. Come on down, because James Jones is either going to be a player advisor or James Jones is going to be out of a job, because that's you need a new guy at the top setting. It can't be the shadow GM Isaiah Thomas either.
And also, listen, we've known that it was not only James Jones, but it was also Josh Bartelstein that made some of these moves happen. The Portland trade specifically for DA, okay? And Josh Bartelstein has never sat in that GM seat. He's never wheeled and dealed for NBA players before, and he's learning from a guy who arguably might not be the greatest to learn from anyway. That's James Jones. Every move he's made has not been like the greatest move ever. And so what do you do from there? You get somebody like a Bob Myers in here, and you attach Josh Bartelstein to him, and they learn together, and Bob shows him the way because he's done it. He's gotten championship teams done, and that's the model. That's the model. James Jones saw the championship model from behind the scenes, but he never had to do it himself. Mm-hmm. And building it is far more difficult than just watching it, obviously. And James Jones, I think there's a couple things that he did very well. I thought he caught a lot of flack for some things that I didn't think he deserved. But for this instance and for this strategy and the way it did not pay off, or I assume it's not going to pay off, somebody's got to be accountable, and it's going to be James Jones, and it's going to be Frank Vogel. That's just the way it goes.
Yep. And I think you have to bring Myers in and then have that conversation with the big three, or somebody like a Myers, and then have that conversation with the big three, because you have to have the guy that's going to have the vision before you make any of those decisions long term. Because I don't want some short timer to make some kind of decision and then you change again as well. I want that move to be the first. Frank first, then you make the move with the front office, and you let that guy pick your coach, make your moves, decide on what you're doing with that draft pick, all those things.
Not the chat asking if we can get rid of our shadow GM. All right, let's get to a couple super chats here. Thank you all for sending them in. We appreciate you. Jacob said, been saying it since the All-Star break. This team is a first-round exit at best. Trade/fire everyone, all caps. Not just the season that's over. This era is over.
Well, I mean, it's been one season. I don't know. You're not.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know how far you're going to take it down to the studs, but I don't know how much is going to go.
Yeah.
Also, we do have some draft capital. I know everybody's like, oh, we have no picks until 2030. No, that's not true. We have a first-round pick this year because it's every other year we still have our first-round pick.
We have the 22nd pick in the draft this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Don Davies sent us one, and they said, only against this shameless group of cupcakes would a dumb quote like, they got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels, age like fine wine. I hate it here.
Amen.
That is going to live to haunt us for the rest of our days.
I'm so
the
tired.
rest of our days.
I'm so tired of getting clowned.
Same. St. Blurry sent us two. The first one said, trade Nurk, all caps, trade Beal, and then they followed up with low-key miss DeAndre Ayton. Well, trading Beal is going to be a little tough.
I mean,
DA's time was up.
DA's time was up.
It was. It just was.
Come on, man. You can't quit on your team in a game 6.
Like, love him or hate him, feeling different, it doesn't matter. His time with this Suns team was up. It was. Trevor sent us one. Thank you, Trevor. They said, really don't know what to say. Are we just expected to lose in embarrassing fashion in the playoffs? I don't think I'm tuning into game 4. They gave up. You know, I think that's what hurts the most is that the last handful of years, it's all been so embarrassing.
Oh
like, it would be one thing to just lose in, like, a good series where it was, like, a hard-fought battle, but the other team just had a little more oomph than you did. But, like, we lose in the most embarrassing ways that you possibly can, and I hate that for us.
Yeah.
Psycho Blue sent us one, and they said, Basketball Cthulhu wants to know when this franchise stops finding itself on the wrong end of greatness. Psycho Blue, your guess is as good as ours. Your guess is as good as ours. Cameron sent us one. Thank you, Cameron. They said, Suns, see you next season. Still my team, though.
You think Utah might give us the Coyotes back for 3 slightly used superstars?
Shoot. Travis sent us one, and they said, I only finished the game to hear the crowd boo. Were we booing?
Yes.
I think people were chanting Fire Vogel, too.
I heard that, the Fire Vogel thing. I didn't know we were booing, though.
Look, they deserve it. Suns fans came out and gave them everything. They got nothing in return. And that the team deserves any boo, any chant that came out of that tonight and on Sunday if they come out with the same kind of effort. I'd boo the shit out of them on Sunday if they come out and play like that again.
I don't know what that crowd's going to be like on Sunday. The worst thing that could have happened for the Suns is to lose the way they lost tonight and then have to come back on Sunday to that arena with a bunch of angry Suns fans that are looking at a bunch of just apathetic superstars that just don't give a shit right now. Like, It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good at all.
Nor should it be.
And listen, man, like, I love Devin Booker. I love Kevin Durant. I love Bradley Beal. But you got to face the reality that they did not live up to expectations as a collective and take you to where you thought you should be going. You should have been competing against the Denver Nuggets next round to get to the Western Conference Finals. But instead, you are falling flat on your face against an Anthony Edwards who's just clowning you every single game. It's fucking disappointing.
I think Ant's going to get his next round. So,
all right. The next one is from Travis. Oh, sorry. We just read Travis. From Black. They said, LOL, Suns at 5. Am I right? Lols.
I guess technically Suns at 7 is still alive.
It's technically still alive. Kenny sent us one. They said, keep your head up. Flex, don't mind the squeakers. Carl sent us one, and they said the Suns skipped steps and are now falling down the stairs. No continuity, no heart, no joy, only, quote, bucket getters, and vet mins. No two-role players.
I don't think they. I think they skipped steps, and I don't think they fell down. I think they just busted through a step and fell all the way to the basement. Like, I don't think they didn't roll down the steps at all. Like,
Just straight down,
it's just done.
3 stories.
Yeah.
You can't fall down steps you never climbed up.
Okay, come on, guys. Come on.
He's not wrong.
All right. Travis sent us a super chat, and they said Josh Okogie subs in and gives real effort, then gets ejected. Facepalm emoji.
Hey,
He knew the assignment.
he was smart. He goes, look, I care, and I'm leaving. All right.
He
I'm
said,
good.
"You're not about to do this to me now, okay? I'm not playing this game."
Yeah, screw you, Frank. I'm not doing
Pulled
this
an
for
Eric
you.
Cartman and said, "Screw you guys, I'm going
He
home."
said, "Josh, get off the bench, go in the game." He was like, "Oh, you think you could do this to me?
Oh,
think you
now
could do this
you
to
want me
me?
to play?
I don't
All
want to
right.
be here.
All right, all right."
Travis sent us one, and they said, "What happened to 43's Vogel saving them for next season, just like Monty's timeouts, I guess?"
He
felt
meant-
like every screen the Wolves set up for a 3 win-in.
He meant 43s in the backyard of his house because that's where he's going to be next year during the season.
I thought he meant 43s in total this series. I think that's what he was
I
going
thought he meant all year. Psycho Blue sent us one. Thank you, Psycho Blue. They said, "We talk about the fan disconnect with this team. Sadly, they feel perfectly in tune with Valley Sports these days." Shaking my head.
It takes everything, people.
You
It
know,
takes everything.
and here's the thing, like, you could tell that it felt like from TV, the crowd was really engaged in the first half, even in that third quarter, to an extent, like the beginning parts of it. But, like, I don't blame you. It's kind of hard to, like, really cheer loud through getting blown out again in the playoffs.
I really felt like, I do feel like there's a portion of this is psychological for this team, because I felt like in the first half, there were so many times where they tied the game up or they were within one, and all they needed was a bucket to take the lead. And they always found a way to not get that bucket. Mm-hmm. And then Minnesota would come down and hit 3, or they get a layup. And I always felt like if the Suns could have just taken the lead one time, just for the visual confirmation and the confidence, I really did feel like they would have stayed in the game and competed at a higher level. But because that never happened, the Timberwolves went on like an 8-0 run to end the first half, ended up going up by 6 at the half. And to me, that felt like maybe we can't do this.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard. They take a punch and they can't come back from it. Like they give in. They have no fight. There's
Glass Joe
nothing
out
to
there.
it.
Glass Joe.
Travis sent us one, and they said, "Keep pump faking threes just to drive into the paint and choke layups. Like the Back to the Future meme, quote, I've seen this episode before. It's a classic."
I don't think I've ever seen an NBA team that has this much trouble going to the hoop and actually.
Yeah.
Like people say, oh, it's Rudy Gobert. No, it was every game this season. There were 2 or 3 blown layups that should have gone in. Yeah, it's a systemic problem right now.
Travis sent us another one, and they said, just change the arena from Footprint Center to Cheek Center. Facts, Travis.
Yeah, the only
big facts.
The footprint right now is the Wolves' footprint on the Suns' ass, pretty squarely.
Alex sent us one, and they said, "Great to meet y'all at the watch party." Alex, thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks,
it was
Alex.
awesome to meet you.
Alex has got a tremendous story. My man has lost 160 pounds.
Love
Nice.
Bro, congratulations.
Yes.
That is fantastic, man. He also brought that book. I'm sorry, you got to write a loss in the notebook tonight, though.
A notebook that him and his dad have been carrying on since 1992-93.
Pretty amazing.
Which is awesome. You are officially a part of our inner circle, Alex, and you know what that means. That means you also have to join Circle K's inner circle, because it's what the cool kids are doing. Make sure you guys download the free Circle K app today, because 1, you save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You save 3 cents per gallon every single day, 5 cents once you reach a certain status. You also get every 6th free on a selection of Circle K products like pizza, coffee, ice-cold fountain drinks, and so much more. And, of course, there are always coupons and specials on the app as well. So make sure you sign up today and check it out. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations, but you can visit CircleK.com for all the details.
Saul how far do you think $200 either on a flight or a bus ride can get me away from Phoenix between now and Sunday?
Well, I mean, I sent Gerald round trip for about $200. Ain't that right, buddy? He's behind the scenes. He sees me. He sees me.
I don't want to go to Minnesota, but I can get you $200 pretty easy here with our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest and most trusted local credit union, dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. The Desert Financial team are financial experts. You don't want people that aren't financial experts helping you with your money. That's how you lose your money. But they are committed to their members and the community, offering financial solutions tailored to helping real people like yourself achieve their financial goals and dreams. So look to Desert Financial for checking, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with its members. And here's how you can get that $200. When you open a free checking account online, you're going to get $200 in bonuses. Just that easy. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200.
All right, guys, it's time to welcome in Mr. Gerald Bourguet. Oh, no. Gerald's intro is
The
gone.
video. I couldn't find the video. No, sorry.
Gerald.
Do it live. Do it live. Do it, Saul. Do it.
Trying to figure out what the words are.
In the darkness,
Yeah.
beyond the lights,
Welcome to Girth! Dun, 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 dun.
Gerald! What a terrible night. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How is everyone hanging in there?
You got here fast. That must have been one hell of a post game.
Yeah.
I think everyone and their mother wanted to get out of this building tonight, I'll be honest with you.
Well,
so they actually showed up to post game, unlike actual game. Impressive.
did they, though? Did all of them show up?
We did hear from Book, Vogel, Brad Beal, and then someone got a hold of Kevin Durant in the locker room, so I was able to listen to that audio as well. So do have thoughts from all four of the people that we probably most wanted to hear from.
All right.
Please share. I would love to hear what Devin Booker had to say, to be honest with you, because listen, man, he knows what it's like here in the Valley. He's been through it. He's gotten this team to the finals. He's been blown out in Game 6 and Game 7s. He's looking at his very first round exit in his career. I imagine that there's some type of way that he's feeling and probably some sense of frustration.
Maybe not as much as you would hope for, I think.
Oh, no.
I think a lot of people are going to watch his post-game comments and be upset. I think he's very cognizant of the situation that this team is in. I don't think he's optimistic by any means, but he was saying in his post-game comments that his approach has always been looking ahead to the next game, taking it one game at a time. That's what we kept hearing in post-game in terms of no team has ever come back from down 0-3 in a series. It's happened 151 times. Only 4 of those, I think, have forced a Game 7. And none of them have won a series. So their approach to it is just looking at what we can do in Game 4 to keep fighting, to keep our season alive. Vogel was very adamant in post-game that these guys do care. They don't want their season to end, all this stuff. But it hasn't felt like it. And I think it's that pervading sense of we want to win. We're all on the same page on that. But we don't know how to do it together. We don't know how to stay on the same page when adversity hits, when the Timberwolves go on a run. And I don't think they have answers at this point. But we asked Book straight up, can you account for what keeps happening in these third quarters? And he said, no, I cannot. They don't have a reasoning behind it. Brad Beal was struggling for answers in terms of why this keeps happening, what the problem is in that regard. It's just, I don't think anyone has a solution here, and that's concerning heading into a Game 4 where they're probably going to get swept if we're being 100% honest.
Frank Vogel included in that?
I mean, Frank Vogel has said, he'll go to I got to go back and watch the film. He's gone to, we just didn't execute. He was saying that it wasn't a lack of effort or a lack of heart or whatever tonight. And Book and Beal said the same. They felt like, in Game 2, it felt like they came apart when adversity hit. They all felt like tonight they just got outplayed. but I don't think that's really an acceptable answer when you look at the way that this game unraveled the exact same way that the last two games have gone. Like, you knew this kind of punch was coming, you knew what this team was capable of in that regard, and it still happened again anyway. There's just there's no accounting for that, and they don't have any answers, it feels like.
That's kind of concerning.
I love that they talked about keep fighting when they haven't even begun, it doesn't feel like. I mean, how angry did the fan base get there in that fourth quarter? Because here at Gila River, there were some pretty pissed off people. I imagine the arena was the same way.
It was not a pretty scene, and unfortunately, it's a scene that's becoming familiar over the last 3 years in terms of these lifeless playoff exits at home. Obviously, this wasn't an elimination game, but it basically was. They had to treat it that way, and it felt like they just got outclassed in every way. There were Suns fans booing a little bit in the second quarter. They got loud in the third quarter. They were all throughout the fourth quarter. There was Fire Vogel chants in the fourth quarter there during timeouts. It was not a pretty scene, and when we asked everybody about it afterwards, they were all in agreement. Devin Booker said rightfully so in terms of Suns fans booing based on that performance. Kevin Durant was saying they paid their hard-earned money to come here, and they're entitled to react however they want. It's on us to go out there and play in a way that, doesn't elicit boos from the home crowd. And Frank Vogel was saying the exact same thing in terms of, like, when you get your butt kicked at home, especially in the playoffs, that's going to happen. That's sports. So they're all aware that they deserved what they got in terms of the crowd reaction tonight. But again, it just felt like one of those games where they get punched and they just don't have an answer for it.
Did you see Matt Ishbia behind the scenes at all? And if you did he look some type of way? Because there's a couple images on Twitter right now of him. Maybe one's on my own Twitter, I don't know, but he's looking a little not happy, that guy.
Yeah, I didn't see him behind the scenes, but I was keeping an eye on him and the Suns bench throughout the game that second half as things started to spiral. It was the "Hello Darkness, my old friend" meme kind of throughout that second half for him, for a lot of people that were on that bench. And I think that's natural. I don't think anyone was expecting this, especially in terms of, we thought this was the most favorable of the three first-round matchups that they could have possibly gotten. And I still think it is. That's what makes this so baffling, is that they're just getting their asses kicked by a team that just wants it more, that is more physical, that's fighting harder, that's executing better. However you want to put it together, they're more cohesive, they're on the same page, and this series is going to be over in 4 or 5 based on what we've seen so far. I don't know that anybody has answers from top to bottom in terms of how this is happening, why this is happening, and there's going to be some uncomfortable questions within the next week about where you go from here.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I never imagined I'd be longing for the Nuggets series last year.
I know.
Like, my God. I hope Ishbia kept the receipts, at least on the coaching staff and a few other things, because I think he has some returns to make here in a few days.
So, Gerald, I'm guessing it was pretty short as far as what the players and Frank Vogel actually said to you guys. What are your feelings about this? How are you kind of digesting what's happening within this series?
I wish I could tell you. Like, it's confusing to me because I thought this was a favorable matchup for the Suns in terms of what they could do from an X's and O's standpoint, from the matchups. And it just hasn't been that way at all. I think there's going to be, you can't even call it slander. There's going to be a lot of talk about Devin Booker and where he ranks among top players in the NBA, and a lot of the jokes, a lot of the memes. There's not going to be a lot we were able to say about them at this point, because this is going to be the third straight year where the Suns go out in kind of lifeless fashion. And I know last year he had one of the greatest individual postseason runs that we've seen in a long, long time. So we know that he's capable of it. It just feels like when their back is against the wall, he hasn't been up to standards. And in this series, the Wolves have done a tremendous job on him. I don't want that to get away from anybody. Like Jaden McDaniels, this number one Wolves defense, they've been fantastic on him. But that's the whole point of having these three superstars. And when you don't have the face of the franchise, scoring more than 20, 21, 23 points in a playoff game, you're going to struggle to win those games. I think Kevin Durant, a lot of people are going to look at him, like he's had a phenomenal season, both ends of the court, but he's also getting older. And in terms of how you restructure this roster, like, do you keep Book and KD and trust that they're going to be the leaders that you need them to be, and trust that they're going to be able to be more of those vocal guys that this group feels like it needs right now? And then Beal, like, is he going to figure out how to be the third banana? We've seen it in stretches, but he's also been injured. He makes a ton of money, and he's got a no trade clause. So there's just very little answers for how to make this work. Everybody's going to point to, oh, they need a point guard. Everybody's going to say, oh, they need to fire their coach and bring in a new coach. But some of these issues don't feel like they're solvable by bringing in a point guard or by bringing in a new head coach. And that's concerning.
Well, let me ask you this. Do some of these issues feel like they could be solved by just having a leader on the court? Because to me, that's one of the other glaring things that they're missing this year. And I think that's if there was one thing that I was probably the most disappointed about Devin Booker, it would be the fact that, the leadership that Chris Paul showed over the course of the last couple of years, you thought was going to rub off to the same level, and he could just pick it up and run with it. And it just never happened. And this team is, discombobulated because it doesn't feel like anybody's really holding anybody accountable out there. And you would think, that, I know Devin wants to hold that mantle, but you got to do it. And I just don't know how effective he's been at that.
Could there be something else, though, Gerald? Not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but at some point, some people just don't want to be led. And could that be part of what's going on? There could be guys in that room trying to lead, but if nobody's responsive to it because they don't want to be led, or a handful of people and there's a fracture in a locker room, doesn't matter if you have that specific leader if certain people don't want to be led. There's only so much you can do to bring people together.
But okay, so this is where I go with the whole Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan thought process, right? Where they were just so maniacal. They could give a fuck about your feelings. Like, they want to win, right? And I feel like when you watch this team play, you watching Bradley Beal, even though they're down by like 15, he's helping the other team up, and he's smiling, he's joking around. It's like, bro, you were down by 15 in a game 3 at home. This is not a funny matter. You should be kind of pissed. And I don't think that happens on a team like that. It doesn't happen on a team with a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant or any of the top leaders in NBA history, right? And that's where I'm like, oh, okay, if we're going to try and be that guy, right, the be legendary person, like, you can't always be friends with your guys on the court. Sometimes you just got to get in their ass, and vice versa. That's just how it is. If you want to win and play at a high level, somebody's got to hold somebody accountable. And that's the thing. Nobody feels like they're holding anybody accountable.
Yeah, it's one of those things where leadership-wise, we're never going to know the full extent of, how much Book is being vocal behind the scenes, or how much guys are responding to what he's saying behind the scenes, how they're responding to his vocal leadership, how vocal KD is in the locker room. We can guess, and we can look at the results and say, yeah, probably not good enough. And I think that's fair. But we just don't know at the end of the day. And I do think the whole point of getting a lot of the veterans that they got, the Eric Gordons, the Royce O'Neals, even Yusuf Nurkic, like, these are guys that should be able to be led. They should be willing to be led. And if they're not, that's a major problem. And that's either a reflection of leadership, or it's a reflection of the guys that you brought in. And we know that a lot of the moves that we made that we were high on at the time just didn't pan out. And so it's hard to gauge that type of thing. But I will say, I continue to say this, I think that they want the same thing at the end of the day, but they have fundamentally different approaches and mindsets on how to get there. And I think that's a problem. And I think, to your point about Beal, I think for him, the best and the worst thing about Beal in a situation like this is that basketball is not the most important thing in the world to him. Like, I think he is one of the rare guys in the league that has perspective that, like, yeah, I want to win this series, but if I don't win this series, I'm going to be okay because I get to play basketball for a living and make millions of dollars doing it. I have a great family. Like, those are the things that matter to him. And in a situation like this, fans are going to want more, but from a life perspective, that's probably a healthy approach. But sports fans, I understand, don't want to hear that right now. So it's kind of his life perspective, I think, is the best and worst thing about him right now.
have that mantra if you're making, like $100,000 a year, but you're making $50 million a year, and there is a responsibility that you have to the fans that pay a lot of money to support that salary that you have. And you can't just go out there and be like, well, at the end of the day, I got my health, I got my life, I got my family, it's all good. Like, no, man, you got to have
the same attitude. Though.
Yeah, but Jokic is the best player in the league.
Yeah, but I think this is becoming a different league.
That doesn't mean
And
we have to
Bradley Beal
accept
didn't
it.
write the check to himself.
I think
he didn't create the contract.
I think it's becoming a different attitude. I don't think the Jordan, Kobe, I'm going to rip your heart out. All I care about is basketball. That this is
no friends in the league.
I'm a MF you if you don't do what I want. I don't know that that's this league anymore. This sports anymore. I just don't. I think it's changing vastly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking I'll look at Anthony Edwards, and he looks like he has that dog in him. So I don't know.
He does, and I will say, I think that's part of it. I think we are witnessing the birth of a superstar in Anthony Edwards. We knew that this was coming, but for him to be doing what he's doing and being the best player in a series with these 4 stars is really impressive. I think that the Suns' big 3 all deserve their share of flack for the way that they've shown up and performed in this series. But I will say, in Beal's defense, this is a small bar to clear, but he was the best member of the big 3 out there tonight, and he was engaged and locked in early, pounding his chest after he made the first 3, telling fans to get up and get amped. Like he wanted it. It wasn't a matter of coming out there laissez-faire and I'm going to collect my paycheck, it's fine. But I do think, in post-game comments, people are going to look at his amount of clarity and the way that he approaches things, and they're probably going to take issue with it just because he's able to take that step back and say, at the end of the day, if we lose this series, I'm still Bradley Beal, I still have a good life. And again, that's not what Suns fans want to hear right now.
Gerald, anything else that stood out to you?
No, I think we have one more game, and I think then we're going to have a lot of uncomfortable conversations that are coming way sooner than I think we thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you jumping on and sharing your insights with us from the Footprint Center. Everyone, make sure you give Gerald a follow on social at Gerald Bourget and read all of his amazing content over at gophnx.com. Bye, Gerald.
Bye, guys.
Well, it is Friday, so lots of people don't have work tomorrow anyway. And if you need a beer, Four Peaks is the best place to get your beer. It's also the best beer that you can drink, both for celebration and for heartache, I suppose. It works both ways. But check out our friends over at Four Peaks for all your brew needs. They also just launched a brand new beer this year called the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. It's a collab between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie. It's super drinkable and the perfect companion at the tea box or in your fridge. We also want to give them a shout out for hosting our Coyotes event earlier this week. It was a huge turnout, raised over $5,000 for the Arizona Kachinas. And it was just a good time for everybody who was able to go to just kind of have that moment together and share stories. And so shout out to Four Peaks for hosting that event. That was fantastic for everyone involved. You can also visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. You can check them out on social at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. You do have to be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks. And we ask that you please drink responsibly.
Shout out to OGs for helping us keep our mentals straight right now, too. OGs has launched 2 new products made with live rosin and RSO, that Rick Simpson oil. The OGs Naturals and the Big OGs. The OGs Naturals are vegan gummies made with that live rosin, available in a sweet clementine flavor. Meanwhile, the Big OGs gummy is a mega version of the Peg's Raspberry Orange RSO. One of the company's most popular products is perforated into 10 slices, each with 10 milligrams of THC for a total of 100 milligrams of THC. So to learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head over to OG's Brands. That's OGEEZ BetMGMSportsBrands.com. Must be 21 or over, and please enjoy responsibly.
All right, we got a bunch of super chat. Thank you for your guys' patience on this one. Go to Tech Review sent us one. They said, still my Suns, but Vogel 100% done, and hopefully JJ too. The correct barometer was the San Antonio back-to-back home L's. Point book failed, need a center and a point guard. Hot take, keep Bradley Beal.
Go ahead. He also said, down bad, accepting no Suns ship in my lifetime.
Yeah,
I'm still holding out faith. Go to Tech Reviews. I get it, but let's hold faith, okay?
I don't know. They keep playing like this. It's taking years off my life anyways.
That's true. Mirage sent us a couple. Thank you, Mirage. They said, overall, I think we just want the Suns to play with pride and effort. If they gave their all and still lose, we can hold our heads up high. Then continued and said, a team constructed with, quote, team in mind instead of, quote, star power would help as well.
Look, the fans can't want it more than the team.
Yeah.
And that's been the case most of this year.
And that's the other thing is, like, going back to what I said at the beginning of the show, like, it's one thing to lose in the playoffs in a hard-fought battle. It's another thing to get embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, you know how many L's we all got to take on social media because the way these guys have gone out in the playoffs over the last couple of years? Like, damn. Help us out a lot.
I'm numb to it now.
Um,
Just like that clown Timberwolves fan that was here earlier.
Facts. You guys should have seen me. It was bad.
No, Lindsay got in that ass. She was tearing that dude apart.
I was being polite but firm, okay?
I thought it was completely inappropriate when she went full Anthony Edwards and started doing the DMX.
Like,
I thought that was.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I just thought that was inappropriate.
Yeah, it was
we
a little over the top.
You and all your friends can go.
We might have to fine her for that. I don't know.
Travis sent us one. Travis said, I hear clicking like on the video and subscribing to PHNX Sports cures playoff loss depression. It's got a better chance than coming back from down 3-0. Travis, you're so smart.
Yeah.
I've heard that before, too. And you know what they say? If they put it in a super chat, it has to be true.
If we get to 1,000 likes, the Suns will win a championship. I'm not saying when, but
hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate it. Thank you, Travis. Omar sent us one, their 5th super chat. Omar says, pay whatever it takes to get a real coach, please.
Facts.
Yeah. I mean, Matt Ishbia got deep pockets, so you do what you got to do. Johnny Boy sent us one, and they said, Brad Beal is not like... Hold on. Oh, it's not like that, comma. Bradley Beal is not like that. You will pay for scapegoating CP3. He doesn't fit with Booker or KD. At least CP3 had a 12-1 stretch playing with them.
He wouldn't have done that shit this year. I don't know if you've watched CP3, but he wouldn't have done that this year. He's old. I don't.
He couldn't have handled the load that he carried last year.
No,
it would have had to drastically reduce.
Do we forget that he didn't even play in the Nuggets series past the game and a half? Like, that's what he does.
The revisionist.
Stop.
The last 3 teams, if you include this year, have gotten their asses handed to them in embarrassing fashion in the playoffs. Let's not act like any of this has been great. I mean, even you could go back to the finals year and you blew a 2-0 lead. Like, let's not act like everything was rainbow and sunshine before this, too.
Like, we get one more round. Okay, cool. We still would have gotten housed by the Nuggets in the next round if we had CP3. It just would have happened.
Cesar said, famous last words, Suns are built for the playoffs. They should have been. Free Minds sent us one, and they said, what's Brad always laughing at?
No.
The fact that he's going to get $50 million no matter what?
I don't know. Logan sent us one, and they said, someone has to take responsibility. Who deserves the blame truly, Vogel or the players?
All of them.
Honestly, Logan, it's both of them.
All of them.
It is, because at the end of the day, there is a disconnect there, whether it's from both players to coaches, coaches to players, and players amongst players. There's a disconnect, and none of them are doing what needs to be done to fix it.
Yeah.
So really, it's on all of them.
The problem is you can't fire the players. You can fire the coach, and that's the way you're going to start. So
exactly. It's the easiest move to make. Tony sent us one, and they said, nothing but love for you guys. Thank you for setting it up. Very disappointing night, but it was great seeing you tonight. But now we just await the offseason where massive change is inevitable.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for coming out, Tony.
Jackson Dew with a $5 super chat. Booker and KD asked fans to stick with them, yet they gave up on us in embarrassing fashion.
Yeah, that hurt.
Yep.
That hurt.
Love y'all. Had with another $2 super chat. Nothing behind the scenes. LOL. These guys just not it.
I mean, two things can be true at the same time.
J5 Media says, dark days might be ahead. I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might be here. What do you mean ahead?
Tosca Wolf. with a
First
$2
one ever.
Nice, $2 super chat. The Grand Canyon was just Paul Bunyan's latrine.
Okay. I can't even read it. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm need therapy.
This is your therapy. Come hang out with us. I'm really good at it, I promise. Logan said, Luka did this to us.
The Suns just
It is
keep on
Luka's fault.
sucking.
Trevor sent us one, and they said 8 games with Book and KD last year is better than this year's team.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Continuity, baby.
Yeah, Jackson sent us one, and they said, I bet my whole month's salary that Vogel is fired the first day after our elimination.
This is like the guy that bet, what was it, like $100,000 to win 20 on Caleb Williams going number 1.
Oh, yeah.
You're pretty much going to hit that one.
But he won $20,000?
No, $20.
Oh, 20.
It was something ridiculous like that.
That's worse than me.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That's worse than me.
If you had $100,000, I could see you doing that.
That's worse than me. Come on.
Girth Jr., Miami played harder, and they had no Jimmy. Yeah.
Hey, that heat culture, baby.
Oh, my gosh. KT said
We got
Stephen A.
that.
Smith.
They got the heat culture. We got the V culture.
KT.
Is that bad? Is that
It
bad?
just doesn't sound right at all.
KT sent us one. Thank you. They said Stephen A. Smith compares Booker to Kobe. Cap.
All right. Thunderstand says starting a Peloton.
A petition.
God, I can't read any.
Starting a Peloton.
Starting a petition to send Frank Vogel to Gitmo.
Oh, my gosh.
Based Gyron. Oh, my
what's
God.
up, Based?
I'm a
What's
man
up,
of my
Based?
word. Here's a 20 spot to make that L feel a little better. Truly did not think the Buns would fold
Same, bro,
like that.
same.
Absolutely no heart, and they should feel ashamed. Hey,
That's
you are
facts.
not wrong. Our new Timberwolf friend.
Hey, at least
appreciate you.
I appreciate you coming through with that $20. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Killer Rex sent us one and said the Suns have 0 draft picks from now until 2030.
Nice!
The franchise is effed and about to be back in the dark times. At least there was that finals run.
Lies. They can't trade picks until then, but they have their pick this year. It's the 22nd. They
And-
have it in a couple years. There's pick swaps.
26,
but
28.
There's pick swaps, but they have picks in 22nd this year in the draft. So
Don't you worry. We'll have a draft show, Killer Rex. I promise.
2 days worth of draft. shows.
Thunderstand sent us one, and they
on a
said
cruise.
Popovich throws seasons until you win 7/10 of the first 10 games. He's old as balls, but he's smart.
Frog Hopper with a $4.99 super chat that does not exist. So Frog Hopper, if you
Oh,
put
but
it,
that's such a good name.
if you put something out there,
we'll look for
we'll
it.
try to find it.
Yeah. Larry Lewis sent us one and said, man, we could have been fans of any franchise.
So lucky.
I say this to my father all the time. I was born in Boston. He moved me here when I was 9 months old. And I said, you know how many championships I could have as a fan if you hadn't moved us?
I know.
I blame you, Dad.
Dennis sent us one, the first one ever. Thank you. Said, blaming Matt is crazy. At least he takes chances.
Facts.
Agreed.
I mean,
I'm always gonna back Matt Ishbia for trying to take chances to win us a championship. Now, if they fumble the bag, it's gonna happen when you take chances. That's why it's called a chance.
I appreciate him taking chances on the players. If we're looking at like other moves and things like that, I still think you can have some conversations there, like front office moves and things of that nature.
Let's roll some more dices this offseason. Let's see what he can come up with.
Charlie Bravo sent us one, first one ever as well. Thank you so much. They said, "Can we get Dwight Howard? He still has toughness and rebounding, and doesn't want a lot of money. Consider we start Bol or Eubanks over Nurk."
Is he bad news?
I'm pretty sure he's playing in South Korea right now, so I don't think he's available. Tim from Phoenix with the $9.99 super chat says, "There's no failure in sports. It's not failure. It's steps to success." I don't know.
I mean, I get it,
Thunderstand. Brad for McHale. Damn it, that's not gonna happen.
but you can wait till 2026 and see if it happens then.
Go
ahead.
Girth Jr. Suns will somehow win Game 4 and extend the pay.
Bro,
I mean, for real.
though.
That's
and I'm gonna
such
be
a-
even more mad.
Oh my gosh,
You
I'm gonna be so pissed if we get to a
bastards.
Game 5 for
Dude.
no reason just to get bounced in Minnesota.
Like just
why?
stop the bleeding already.
Seriously.
Just stop the bleeding.
But you know that's what's going to happen. That's a fact that's going to happen. I should put $100,000 on that.
It's so annoying.
I wish I had it on.
Love Y'all sent us their third super chat. Thank you, Love Y'all. They said, only idea I got for this current roster is having Grayson Allen play the point. The one game he focused on that, he had an easy double-double.
Keyword there is one game.
Caesar says, bring in Bob Myers to GM and Phil Handy to coach.
Hey, I don't hate Phil Handy. And, yeah.
Handy,
That's not a bad suggestion.
Handy could make things look a little bit better this offseason.
Mr. Popo sent us their first one ever, said, really don't know why Vogel can't let KD play like he did with the Nets and the Warriors.
Because he's 30. Does Vogel have a time machine? I mean, KD, I love what KD has been in his career. I appreciate what he's done here, but the reality is he's 35 going on 36 still. I don't think he's magically going to be, the guy we saw in Golden State, especially pre-injury. I mean, it's Father Time's undefeated for a reason.
Lucas sent us one and they said, think this is embarrassing. Try being both a Suns fan and a Yotes fan for 30 years. Crying face emoji. This pain is normal for us Yotes fans.
Been here, done that.
To be fair, it's not going to be normal for very much longer.
Well, all right,
sadly.
Channing sent us one. They said, Wolves fan here. Wolves just wear you down. Too many good defensive players to throw at you. Suns look gassed in the second half in all 3 games. I mean, honestly, true. Channing, shout out to the Timberwolves. They've been playing really good basketball in these last 3 games. And they have not let, when the Suns try to get back into things or when things get close, that rattle them whatsoever.
I swear Emma is trying to make this harder and harder to read.
I know.
These.
I don't know what the hell she's doing. She's totally playing with the screen.
She's literally trying to make it big enough for you.
She shrunk it.
Don't say old ass. I can read it just fine.
Old fucks. Watch what happens when I click on it. It covers it. That's why I did it. That's why I changed it.
No, you shrunk it.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Emma, it's midnight here, so I can say this without offending the little ones. Get fucked, nerd. Base God Flashy says, from up 2-0 in the finals to 2 second-round humiliating exits to getting first-rounded. Are we tanking for draft picks next year? P.S. Nurkic sucks.
Who's man? Says,
first super chat ever.
First super chat. How do you know this?
They tells me on my side.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Chris Paul often talked about the fun the team had playing with each other. This current team has no fun. You can see it in every aspect of the game. Yeah, it's a chore.
Big facts.
Yeah.
They don't like each other, it feels like.
Ryan Preston, it's building a culture. Miami super team with LeBron worked because of an already winning culture established with Shaq and Pat Riley.
Eric sent us one and they said, Suns break my heart the day before my 34th birthday. Are we cursed as a franchise?
No, if you were cursed, it would have happened on your 34th
like
birthday.
mine. Like mine.
Eric,
happy birthday, Eric.
Eric, let me tell you this. It all goes downhill at 35, so enjoy 34.
AZ Bones sent us one. It was their third super chat. They said, well, this L wasn't a part of the NBA script, or was it?
Oh, man.
I want to meet these script writers and punch them square in the damn face.
One. Oh, my God. I would have so much fun being an NBA script writer. Chine sent us one. Thank you, Chine. They said, rough season going to last PAC? Pack? Hold on. Rough season going to last pack and watching U of A lose, and now Suns about to be eliminated. AZ Sports always be disappointing. Someday, LOL.
No. Jackson Dew, how could you get run out of your own gym and say it wasn't a lack of heart? I don't know. Ask the last 2 years before this.
Ranger Roy, we got to speed through these things because we're getting kicked out. So you got it right earlier in the season. Toxic coaching locker room with possible division between coaches and players. Must be nice to be paid millions to suck. Alfredo Salas, $9.99. What sucks for G when the Suns get swept is he won't get to take his wife back to Minnie. I guess get used to the disappointment as a Suns reporter is what he could say. Just kidding. Love the show.
Ben in Big D says, Saul looks as sad as Ishbia did in the third. At least you can watch Luka next week.
Eric Rodriguez with $1.99. Hello, Drakeness, my old friend.
Larry Lewis, I don't know which tribes it used to perform at halftime, but get them back somehow to undo all the bad vibes in the arena, unconjure the spirits, please, or send them to DNVR. Just get the dog to pee back on the court.
Yep. James sent us one. They said, should have kept CP3. The Suns are going backwards.
Well, that's funny because Eric Rodriguez with the super chat just above said the same thing. I miss CP3's leadership. I miss the point guard.
We definitely need some leadership.
Victor says, I haven't missed a game in 16 years. I'm going to opt out the next one. I wish these guys knew how much we love this team to give us no effort.
The haunted Kiwi says Booker is closer to Poole than Mitchell. That's a lie.
I love the haunted Kiwi.
My friend BCOM clearly says, I'm...
Nope.
Next
nope.
one.
Be calm. See clearly.
You're out.
Bad.
That's the line.
PG-13, my guy.
That's the line.
PG-13. Alfredo sent us one. They said, I have 3 pairs of book ones, and I suddenly have the urge to sell. Sad. Kind of want to go to the game a Sunday to talk shit. Also, Lindsay preaching today.
Code 49.99. Respectfully, I don't know how anybody is going to guard us. Cameron Thompson, $5. I'll hit if we can get Espo to dress up as an Ewok to finish off this weird season, or we can get a poll for it. LOL.
Let's do it.
Jamer Yagi says nothing. Sean Fredrickson says the Phoenix Coyotes have more fans than the Suns. Brandon Wamsley says, I'm pissed off at the Suns, and I don't know if I want to watch Game 4. Thank you, Saul Lindsay Espo, for always having the post-game show to cope. Yamir Yagi says, I loved watching your team quit. Chris Stevens says, if Denver sweeps Minnesota, how do we feel? Shitty.
Let's
really bad. Be calm.
Next.
PG-13, my guy.
I'll say this one. Huge Jazz. I feel like the only one thinking this. To me, it looks like the big 3 are trying with Vogel, but lack of time and chemistry linked and Booker regression are the main reasons we'll lose. Nope.
Humboldt Jack, no way we win Game 4, but hey, we got MHJ and KT Wizzy. I hope the Suns look into hiring Mark Jackson.
Hell
no.
Ryan says it's building a... Oh, we already read that one. Andrew says, where is Flex? He'll be back at some point. Leo, remember when Vogel said in the introductory press conference, we're going to be scrappy as hell? More like crappy as hell. Love you all, PHNX.
And that's all the super chats. And if you send another one, we're sorry we can't read it because we got to go.
Tony said, when is the next PHNX Sports therapy session? That'll likely be on Monday, so we're not going to have a show tomorrow, but we will have a pre- and post-game show on Sunday, of course, before and after the game. And we'll kind of go from there, to be completely honest with you. So come hang out with us on Sunday, and then we'll tell you when the next session is. Okay, thanks, y'all. Appreciate ya. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. And thank you for all hanging out with us. You can also give the show a follow on social at PHNX_Suns. You can follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. And you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Just remember, we chose this life. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.